Man, listen, when we talk about skill inside the octagon, Jon Jones is on another level. And I don't think people truly realize how absurdly talented this guy is. It's not just that he wins fights, it's the way he wins. You're talking about a dude who came into the UFC as the youngest champion ever and immediately started dismantling legends. His creativity, his reach, the way he uses his elbows, spinning attacks, those front kicks to the knee, all of it is so calculated, so unorthodox, and so damn effective. You watch him fight, and it feels like you're watching a cheat code in real life. He doesn't just outmuscle guys, he outsmarts them. The fight IQ, the ability to adapt mid-fight, it's like he's playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. People forget that he's beaten champion after champion, and he made it look easy. That's not normal. That's not just athleticism, that's pure skill mixed with insane work ethic. Love him or hate him, Jon Jones is easily one of the most skilled fighters we've ever seen in the history of combat sports, period. And here's the thing, man, when you break down Jon Jones, you realize it's not just about his physical gifts, though those are insane, right? He's got that ridiculous wingspan, he's long, he's strong, but it's how he applies it. He uses every inch of that reach like a weapon. You'll see him paw at a guy's hand, distract him, and then boom, that sharp elbow comes out of nowhere and splits someone open. He's like a damn surgeon in there. And his ability to mix it up, it's wild. One second he's throwing a side kick to your thigh, the next second he's in the clinch ragdolling you like it's nothing. Most fighters specialize in one area, striking, grappling, maybe wrestling, but he's like this hybrid monster who can do it all at a championship level. What blows my mind the most, though, is his composure. Think about how young he was, going up against legends like Shogun Rua, Rampage Jackson, Lyoto Machida, guys who were absolute killers in their prime. And he didn't just squeak by them, he dominated. He made champions look like they didn't belong in there with him. That's terrifying. And then when you think about the way he handles adversity mid-fight, it's unreal. And look at the Gustafsson fight. He was in deep waters, bloodied up, clearly behind on some exchanges, and instead of crumbling, he finds this other gear. He digs into something primal, adjusts on the fly, and comes back with that championship mentality that just refuses to lose. That's not something you can teach, man. That's something only the greats have. And when you're sitting there, cage side, you can feel it. There's this aura with Jon Jones. Like, you're not just watching another fight, you're witnessing a guy who could easily go down as the most skilled martial artist in UFC history. Every move is calculated, every adjustment is razor sharp, and he's always 2 steps ahead of his opponents. Like he's reading their soul before they even throw a punch. That's how skilled Jon Jones is. It's not hype, it's reality. Here's what people don't fully grasp, man. Jon Jones doesn't just fight opponents, he dismantles entire game plan. Every single person that goes in there against him, they've spent months building this perfect strategy. We'll pressure him here, we'll take him down, we'll outstrike him, and then when the cage door shuts, it all just falls apart. He breaks guys mentally before he even breaks them physically. You see it in their faces after the first round. They realize, oh shit, this guy is different. That's a rare skill, man, to impose that kind of psychological dominance. It's not just about throwing punches. It's about creating an atmosphere where your opponent feels like there's no escape. And you got to remember, this guy isn't just a striker. He's not just a wrestler. He's this insane mix of everything. People forget he was out wrestling Olympians. Daniel Cormier, an Olympic-level wrestler, one of the best heavyweights ever. Jon Jones outgrappled him. That shouldn't even be possible, but he did it. That's when you realize his fight IQ is just next level. He knows exactly when to change gears, when to go from striking to wrestling to clinch to submissions, and he flows between them like water. It's seamless. Most fighters, they'll try to adapt, but you can see the gears turning. With Jon, it's instinctual. It's like his brain is wired to process combat faster than anyone else. And man, think about the creativity. Who else throws spinning elbows at championship level? Who else stomps your knees out with side kicks just to break your rhythm? He invents these moves in real time and then makes them look like standard weapons. That's artistry, dude. It's like watching Picasso paint. But instead of a canvas, it's a human being standing across from him. The way he controls distance, the way he sets traps, it's like he's thinking 2 or 3 layers ahead of you. That's what makes him so damn dangerous. What's even crazier is longevity. He's been at the top for so long, fought multiple generations of killers, and he's still evolving. That's unheard of. Most fighters have a peak, a few great years, and then decline. Jon just keeps adjusting, keeps adding new wrinkles to his game. It's almost unfair, man. And you know what the scariest part is, even after all the controversies, all the time off, all the chaos outside the cage. The second he steps back in, he still looks like the most skilled guy in the world. That's how you know it's real. That's how you know you're watching something historic. At the end of the day, Jon Jones isn't just skilled, he's a phenomenon. You could line him up with any fighter from any era, and the conversation will always be, yeah, but how would they deal with Jon's reach? How would they deal with his IQ? How would they deal with the fact that this guy has no real weakness? And the truth is, nobody's found the answer yet. That's how skilled Jon Jones is. He's not just beating people, he's redefining what it means to be a mixed martial artist. Man, when you really sit down and break it all apart, Jon Jones is like this wild experiment that actually worked. It's almost unfair how many tools he has at his disposal. You watch the guy fight, and it's like every single movement has purpose. Even when he's not throwing, he's setting traps, he's controlling range, he's making you second guess everything you want to do. That's next level skill. And it's something only a handful of fighters in history have ever had. And the craziest part is, Jon was doing this as a kid, like literally a kid compared to the legends he was fighting. He stepped in there with guys who had decades of experience, and he was dismantling them with creativity and fight IQ that seemed impossible for someone his age. Throw in his adaptability, like the way he can completely change his style mid-fight, and you start to understand why he's so damn hard to beat. He's not just skilled technically, he's mentally bulletproof in those moments where everything is on the line. That's the part people overlook. Jon has this killer instinct, but it's wrapped inside this chess player brain. He knows exactly when to explode, when to conserve energy, when to take risks, and when to shut the fight down. That's not just talent, that's mastery built over years of sharpening every weapon in his arsenal. And honestly, if you're talking about skill in its purest form, Jon Jones is probably the most complete fighter we've ever seen inside the octagon. A guy who redefined what mixed martial arts could look like at the highest level. And here's the thing, man, when you talk about Jon Jones and skill, you're not just talking about a guy who can throw kicks and punches, you're talking about a dude who can walk into any era of fighting and completely flip the script on what people thought was possible. Like go back to the early days of MMA, when people were still figuring out whether jiu-jitsu could beat wrestling, or whether striking could dominate grappling. Jon Jones shows up and he doesn't just blend those arts together, he weaponizes. He uses his freakish reach, his unorthodox angles, and this insane creativity where he's throwing spinning elbows, side kicks to the knees, and little tricks in the clinch that just drain you piece by piece. He's not fighting you the way you trained to fight, he's pulling you into his own universe where nothing makes sense anymore. And I think that's what makes him such a nightmare for everyone. He forces you to fight his fight. Even the best guys, legends, champions, they all went in with a plan and came out broken, questioning themselves. That's skill at a level that's hard to even put into words. And what blows my mind is the timing of his career. He didn't do this after a slow build. He did it when he was young, when he was raw, and he was still outclassing seasoned killers. That tells you this wasn't just athleticism or luck. This was a guy born with a combat IQ that's almost alien. He sees things before they happen, he calculates positions, and then he executes with precision like a surgeon. The mental game, the physical gifts, the technique, the creativity, it's all there, and it's all sharpened to this razor's edge. You can make a list of every skill a fighter could possibly need, and Jon Jones checks every box and then he invents a few more that nobody else even thought about. That's why people call him the GOAT, because when you break it down skill for skill, nobody else has ever put it all together at that level. Man, if you really think about it, Jon Jones is one of those rare athletes that come around once in a lifetime, a guy who changes the entire landscape of a sport just by existing. You can have the GOAT debates all day. Anderson Silva, Georges St. Pierre, Khabib, whoever. But when you put everything on the table, Jon's skill set is just so damn complete that it's hard to deny he's at the top of that conversation. He wasn't just beating guys, he was dismantling them, breaking their will, showing them things inside that cage they had never seen before. You hear it in the voices of the opponents who fought him. These are tough men, champions, and after facing Jon, they talk about him like he's some unsolvable puzzle. That's how you know you're dealing with greatness, when the best in the world sound like they just went through something otherworldly. And here's the part that's crazy, he did all this while still growing, while still figuring out who he was as a fighter, which means the ceiling was never even visible. That's terrifying. That's what makes his story so fascinating to me. Jon Jones isn't just skilled, he's the definition of evolution inside the octagon. He's the guy future fighters are going to study for decades, trying to figure out how he did what he did,
how he made elite competition look ordinary. And honestly, whether you love him or you hate him, you can't deny the fact that Jon Jones is one of the most skilled and impactful fighters in the history of mixed martial art. And that's the beauty of this sport, man. Every once in a while, we get to witness someone who completely redefines the game. Jon Jones is that guy. He's a once-in-a-generation fighter. And whether you like it or not, you've got to give him his flowers. That's what makes MMA so damn incredible.
The more I think about it, the crazier it gets, because Jon Jones isn't just about physical talent, he's about the mental game too. People underestimate how much composure, confidence, and pure fight IQ it takes to perform the way he did against the very best in the world. Think about it. He's standing across the cage from legends, guys who built their entire careers on toughness and skill, and yet he would neutralize them like it was just another day at the office. That calmness, that ability to read his opponents like a book, it's rare. It's almost like he was playing chess in there while everyone else was still figuring out the rules. And look, no fighter is perfect. Jon has had his controversies, his ups and downs outside the cage, but when you strip it all back and look at what he's done in that octagon, it's undeniable. He's shown us that greatness isn't always clean, it's not always simple, but it's unforgettable. And for the fans, for people like me watching this sport for decades, you can't help but feel lucky that we got to witness his rise, his dominance, and his story unfold in real time. Because years from now, people are going to look back and say, damn, that was Jon Jones. That was the guy who redefined MMA. And here's the thing, man. Greatness like Jon Jones doesn't just happen. It forces us to question the very limits of human performance. You see a guy like him, and it's not just about throwing elbows or landing takedowns. It's about showing the world what happens when talent, discipline, and that killer instinct all collide. Fighters like Jon raise the bar so high that everyone who comes after has to level up or get left behind. That's why you see this new generation of athletes studying him, mimicking his moves, trying to capture even a fraction of what made him dominant, and that's the legacy of a true GOAT. It's not just about belts or records, it's about reshaping the entire sport. Years from now, when kids step into the gym for the first time, they'll be learning techniques that Jon Jones pioneered inside the cage. That's how you know someone isn't just part of MMA history. They are MMA history. And love him or hate him, Jon Jones will always be the guy who changed the fight game forever.